Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Escape Pod. Thank you so much for escaping with us. That's Andrew. I'm Alex.
And as always, with great power comes great Deadpool and Wolverine ability.
That's right.
It is time for our review. Now, we will do spoilers later. You can watch this if you have not seen the movie. We will clearly mark spoilers before we talk anything in that territory.
Yes.
That will be at the very end, so do not worry about that.
Yes, so if you have not seen the movie yet and you don't want to be spoiled or anything, but you do want to hear our thoughts, you're good to go. We will clearly say when we get into spoiler territory.
Yep.
You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Here are our scores, our review for Deadpool and Wolverine out of 10. 3, 2, 1, 7 out of 10.
I knew it!
Yes.
I knew it!
Yes.
I came out of the theater, and I said, I think both of us are a little bit lower on it than everyone else, because everyone was coming out of it giving it a 10 out of 10.
Yes.
And I also said, Alex is going to give it lower than me. I think you are wrong.
That's okay. So we have not talked about our scores yet. We haven't talked about anything.
Do you know how hard it is to go to a world premiere with a bunch of other content creators and everyone is talking about the movie, but we decide not to because we care about y'all so much?
It's awful.
We went out to eat with other content creators at the premiere, everything. Everyone's talking about it. We don't say a word
It's awful.
until we're on this podcast.
Yes, but we do it for you. Anyway, back to the review. You don't think this movie is just a mess? It's like kind of a little bit of a mess, no?
Who the F cares?
Yeah, well, that's
how about that, Alex?
That's why I gave it a 7. But
That's why I gave it an 8.5.
It is a mess. Like, if I was to compare this movie to any movie in the MCU, it's like if Endgame was paced and written like Thor: Love and Thunder and Multiverse of Madness.
Yes, but everything else about it is amazing.
The Endgame stuff, the great stuff is great.
And the great stuff is throughout the movie. Now, I have a problem. It's messy. The story is there's problems. This is not a perfect movie, but it is a great movie. 7 out of 10 I give like good movies. 8.5 easily, and I like it more. I need to watch. These are the types of movies that I need to watch again. I think I will like it a lot more on rewatch because there were some things that I was expecting or wanting that just weren't happening, and now that I know the general structure of the movie, I can kind of relax on that stuff and just appreciate it for what it is instead of coming in with. And we also came into this movie with the preconceived notion that it's going to be the best thing in the entire world.
Of course.
If you watch this movie, and if this was the first Deadpool movie or the first of, if this was like an Ant-Man movie, I think we'd be raving about it. Or if it was the next Thor movie.
Interesting.
Because this has such a high bar because it's a Deadpool movie and it has Wolverine.
Bringing back Hugh, yeah.
I think we went in with such a high bar that, like, yeah, it's messy and we wanted it to be perfect, but, like, if we just went in, like, if this was any other summer blockbuster movie, we'd be coming out of this being like, that was one of the best movies of all time.
Interesting.
Even if it's messy. Like, we don't care. Like, Fall Guy is kind of messy, but we really like Fall Guy.
I've never seen. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Sorry, continue.
So, Deadpool and Wolverine, yes, it is not perfect, but I have way more pros than I have cons. It did everything it should have done as a Deadpool movie.
Sure. Our full review, for those of you on TikTok, our full review is on YouTube, non-spoiler and spoiler, if you want to go check that out. Sorry for those of you that are already on YouTube. We do appreciate you allowing that interjection. Okay, do you want to start with cons?
Sure.
Okay.
You're going to lead this segment.
Yes. There are villains in this movie, and neither of them work for me because they feel like half of villains. And so all of them feel like they're missing something. And I feel like if you were to put all of the villains in this movie together, then we would have one good villain that would be like interesting and would service the movie better.
Sure, I agree. Yeah. Without spoilers, yeah.
No spoilers.
So, going off of that con, my con for Deadpool and Wolverine is the story and some of the stuff that it was kind of lacking, or the structure, in terms of they do some good things with characters, specifically with Wolverine. Wolverine saved it a little bit for me. I think they did something interesting with Wolverine that I still wish they explained it a little bit better. Mm-hmm. If they didn't have the Wolverine part in it, I'd be even lower on it. But Wolverine saved it a little bit for me. But the villains, Deadpool, Wolverine, all of them had good things going for them. I think they were stretched out a little bit too much and not explained fully enough. Mm-hmm. There are some things that happened with Deadpool right at the beginning of this movie that are different from the past Deadpool movies. Mm-hmm. kind of where he is in his story that doesn't get really explained enough.
Yes.
At all. And it's kind of a big thing if we're
Yes.
talking about that one thing that I don't like. I don't like that they did. And then they also didn't explain it well enough.
Yes.
If you explained it better, maybe I'd be more okay with it.
Which is especially frustrating for me. Mind you, I walked out of this movie much lower than the 7 I gave this movie. I was very low on this movie walking out of the theater. But I agree with the statement you just made. I need to watch this again because I think I'm going to like it more.
I think on second watch, I think I will still be at an 8.5, but because
you're going to be more confident with it?
Yeah.
You're a second watch guy, though. You loved Across the Spider-Verse so much more on second watch. And I assume I'm going to like this movie more on second watch. Again, I was lower than a 7 for sure walking out of the theater. But here's the thing that I want to bring up. You just brought up you wish that some of the things with these characters that we're talking about were explained better.
Yeah.
Which is so annoying because probably my second or third biggest con with this movie is the exposition. It's brutal in some scenes. You don't think so, really? No. Where it's just, okay, this is a scene dedicated to explaining to the audience something. The whole point of movies is you are supposed to show, don't tell, and oh boy, is this movie going to tell you all about all the things you need to know.
Yeah.
And so it's frustrating that I feel like I'm over exposition. There's too much exposition in certain scenes, and then there's like straight up not enough exposition for like major characters.
Sure.
You know, so that was a real con for me.
Sure.
I'll just jump into the biggest one I have by far. This movie is very funny. If you do not like Deadpool or Deadpool 2, you will not like this movie. It's the same humor.
Sure.
But my two main issues is I'm getting a little sick of it. I'm kind of getting sick of the shtick. I felt that in Deadpool 2. I'm notoriously very low on Deadpool 2. I'm obviously much higher on this movie than Deadpool 2. But like the shtick, it's a little bit much for me. I found myself laughing a lot less in this movie. But I do genuinely, even though this movie is a comedy and supposed to be one of the funniest MCU movies, we were at the world premiere. There's not going to be a more positive audience of this movie than the world premiere. And there was like an hour stretch where nobody laughed in our theater.
That's not true.
Really?
That's just factually not true.
There's a stretch where nothing happens that's funny. Like nobody laughed, I felt like. I didn't laugh. I didn't think you laughed. And I feel like there were long stretches of this movie where it's just not funny. Maybe the shtick is too much. Maybe people are, you don't think so at all. You just don't,
No.
You think I'm just factually incorrect.
I don't think there was an hour stretch where nobody laughed. I think that's a gross
Do you think there was a 30-minute stretch where nobody laughed?
I mean, maybe, but I'm sure something serious was happening. Like...
Okay. Yeah, I'm not talking about the serious stretch though.
I don't think there's large swaths of this movie where they were trying to be funny and they didn't get people laughing.
Okay.
There are things that yeah, I understand like the shtick and it being a lot. I've never been 100% down with the shtick. Like I think parts of it are funny and parts of it aren't. So yeah, if you don't like the shtick, you're not going to like this, but like that shouldn't be a con for the movie because the first two movies are popular and you should know that going in.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
That's why I said it the way I said it.
But I think there are some things that aren't as funny as they were trying to make it. Sure, but I don't think there were like large swaths of the movie where they were just like constantly hitting the mark.
Yeah, okay. And then my final con that I really want to talk about, which is the biggest con I have with this movie, is the story. I think the story is a mess. I just like I said, it feels like Multiverse of Madness to me, where it's just it's all over the place, it's everywhere, and the key thing that drives the story, the reason the movie happens, it doesn't work for me. Like the motivation of the main characters. Do you know what I'm talking about now?
Are you talking about the TVA explanation for why?
No. Okay. The motivation for the character.
Sure.
That doesn't work for me.
Why?
It doesn't sell me.
Why?
I don't think they do a good job of selling me.
Correct. I will also
and that's got to do with the exposition.
Right.
That's what you explained.
The story con I agree with you on.
Yes.
I think it's messy. I think the things that need to be, some things are over explained and things that are important, like why Deadpool's doing this, why Wolverine is doing this, why the villains are doing this, are all, I kept waiting for a little bit
like
more.
A flashback, like a crazy flashback.
And it kind of gives you a couple, and then like even those scenes where I was like, okay, I'm glad they happened. I still wanted a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's why I think I'll like it more on second watch, because like I can kind of just understand it without expecting oh, I need them to hit this exactly for me to be able to enjoy it. Now I know it's not going to happen, so I can just enjoy the movie for what it is. I think I'll like it more on rewatch. But
yes.
Again.
Do you have any more cons that you specifically want to talk about? Because there's one last thing I want to talk about before we get into pros, and then we finish off our non-spoiler section, which is this movie will absolutely do the No Way Home thing, and I think it'll do it 10x. You and I are Spider-Man No Way Home truthers.
Yes.
I think Spider-Man No Way Home is a top 3 MCU movie. I think it's incredible. The people that, a lot of people are aware that for 3 months, Spider-Man No Way Home was the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
And then obviously the universe and the internet and the world seems to have turned on it. And now people say, it's really just nostalgia bait. It's not a great movie. Like you guys are being tricked. I don't feel that way. I think if you take all the nostalgia away from that movie, it's still a phenomenal movie. This movie, and I'm not saying it's because of nostalgia, but this movie will have a 3-month run where people will tell you it's the best movie in the MCU. And after that 3 months, people are going to hate on Deadpool and Wolverine as though it's Thor: Love and Thunder. I feel very strongly of that.
I agree. I came out of the movie thinking, because everyone was like, it's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would love to see what they say in a year. I had the same exact thought. I started comparing it to No Way Home in terms of story and and like the internet reaction to it.
Yep.
I think a lot of people will say this is amazing.
Yep.
But I do think in like a year, people will start realizing that maybe they shouldn't have it in their top 3 MCU movies or whatever. Not saying it is a bad movie. Again, I am much higher on it than you.
Yes.
And if you go into it expecting, like, wanting it to be what it is, you'll love it. So it is a movie that you should love. I just don't know. I think people will say it's the GOAT movie and then maybe walk it back a little bit
Correct.
later.
I agree.
Not walk it back to say that it's a bad movie or say that it's Thor:
Love and Thunder or Multiverse of Madness.
Right. I don't think people will pull it down that far. It is clearly better than those movies.
I think so too, by the way.
But I think time will tell a little bit that it's a little bit lower than what people are saying now.
Yeah. You want to go into pros?
Yeah, I would love to because there's a lot.
Yeah, of course. So you could start.
Sure. So 3 big pros.
Okay.
Well, just fun stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. My first pro for Deadpool and Wolverine is the comedy.
Yes.
It's hilarious.
Yes.
The opening scene is one of my favorite scenes, like, ever.
And it's hard to top Deadpool 1's opening scene.
Right, but I think this did.
It's really good.
I think it did.
Oh, I forgot a major con. I'm so sorry. Continue.
So yeah, it's funny throughout. The Deadpool breaking the fourth wall, the things you see in the trailers, the pegging's not new for me, friendo. People were just laughing. I'm not going. I want to talk to you later on in the podcast about how funny this movie is compared to other like MCU movies and stuff.
Absolutely.
But I remember laughing throughout. I think
Yes.
it really hit. If you don't like the Deadpool stick, again, you're not going to like this movie.
Correct.
But I it is genuinely funny. They
Yes.
they don't try too hard. Again, I'm notoriously lower on Thor Ragnarok. I think this
Yes.
blows Ragnarok out of the water in terms of comedy.
Okay, that's good. You don't think it's that try hard forcing it?
No,
it's
because
too improv. You don't feel that way. The way you feel about Thor Ragnarok and Thor: Love and Thunder, you don't feel that way about Deadpool and Wolverine.
Absolutely not. Because number one, I think the comedy is just way more clever.
Yes.
It's not Thor's going to throw this ball off a window and it's going to hit him in the face for the 30th time. And then also, they don't take every single serious moment in this movie and turn it into a joke. They don't have Mark Ruffalo jumping off of a thing and landing on the Rainbow Bridge. They don't have, they actually have some moments where you're sitting down with some of these characters and you let them sit in the seriousness of it. Maybe not too much, but like, you don't even need that in a Deadpool movie necessarily, but they give it to you a couple times.
Yes.
And that's needed to let the other comedy moments breathe.
Yes.
And Deadpool and Wolverine is funny, and I was not rolling my eyes like I was at some other comedic movies.
I agree with most of the things you've just said. The only input I wanted to say is, for me, the jokes work less as a whole. Like Deadpool 1, I find myself just constantly giggling, chuckling, and then I'll have like a big laugh. You know what I'm saying? This movie, for me, the chuckles didn't hit as hard as they did in Deadpool 1 or maybe some lighter MCU movies. But when this movie got a laugh out of me, it was a full, loud, obnoxious belly laugh. There is a joke in this movie that we'll probably say in spoilers that Like I every time I think about it, I laugh. I can't stop laughing about it. I think it's one of the best MCU jokes ever. The setup, the punchline, everything about it I thought was so brilliant. So yeah, real quick, wanted to talk about my last con. I'm so sorry, I completely forgot about this. I don't think this movie uses the R rating correctly. I think they say the F word a couple of times, and there's a couple moments that are like short. Like there's one moment specifically that it's like, yes, that you couldn't put that in a PG-13 movie, but it is played for a joke, so it is a little bit different. Otherwise, like in terms of like dismemberments, this movie I don't think compares to the previous two installments. Like in terms of kills, there is more blood in this movie than like a regular MCU movie. But just because blood like squirts onto the camera doesn't mean that this movie is like a tremendously gory movie. So that is something I wanted to say, is that is a concern for a lot of people. A lot of people were concerned they weren't going to make this movie rated R. I'm happy it's rated R, but it feels to me like 6 F words and blood, like just decently more blood in the fight scenes. That's why it's rated R, and that's it.
Yeah, I disagree. I mean, I just didn't have that thought literally watching the movie at all. Mm-hmm. It just felt like a Deadpool movie for me. I literally thought like, oh, well, they just didn't tell him no. Like they got to do basically everything. Especially with the opening scene. Like there's a lot of, like, I guess there's just blood.
Though, yeah,
but
it's
like,
just, that's how I felt, yeah.
Yeah, but there's a, every single fight scene would not be in another, and not just because of the blood. There's not a single fight scene in this movie that would be in another MCU movie.
I disagree. We'll get into that in spoilers. I completely disagree. There's one fight scene specifically, and I was like, really? But we'll get into that in spoilers.
Okay. You want to do a pro or you want me to?
You can do another pro. I kind of cut you off.
Okay, so speaking of the fights in Deadpool and Wolverine, that is another one of my pros. Okay. You get a lot of fights in this movie, and they're all great. I don't have a problem with a single fight. Obviously, you get the Deadpool and Wolverine fight, like that's in the trailers. So you get that. I'm trying to count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 off the bat that are like long, solid fight scenes that I think are choreographed well. There's a one shot in this movie. Is that a spoiler? The one shot is great. I think I like. What do you think about the fights? I'm sick after my trip. I'm sorry. I can't speak properly.
You're good.
Yet again. Yes, I'm sick again, everybody. What do you think about the fights?
The fights are a lot of fun.
Yes.
The fights are a lot of fun. I think that the best fight in this movie, though, is leaps and bounds better than the other fights. Does that make sense?
Can you give me a hint which one? I guess we'll talk about it in spoilers.
We will talk about it in spoilers. But I do think there's like an outlier. And it's like, oh, this was clearly better than the rest of them, personally. But the fights are good. I don't love the way they were directed. But that's not like a... No, I'll explain it in spoilers. You'll understand what I mean. There's like a specific moment that I was like, really? Again, it's not a big deal, but I know this is going to sound weird and like counterproductive or whatever. I wasn't necessarily going into this movie thinking my mind was going to be blown with fights. So I'm not like, I wasn't low on these fights. I think they were great. Like I was impressed by the fights, even though I do have problems with them. They could have been better. Like, I like the fights in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, basically, I don't think anyone will be disappointed with the fights. They're fun, they're good, they can be comedic, and you get a lot of them. It's not like they held back with the fights.
They did not hold back.
There's ample amounts of action scenes in this movie, and I think that's a pro.
I agree. Well, let's go into one of my pros real quick. Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
As Wolverine, he's really good in this movie. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's going to surprise anybody, but like, yeah, he's just really good at playing this character. And there is a sequence that is different than the rest of the movie. And Hugh Jackman is incredible in that sequence. He's just incredible. And so I just wanted to shout out Hugh Jackman as one of the main highlights of this movie. He's phenomenal.
Yeah. Every single scene he's in is great. Whether it's him being an angry Wolverine, or it's a fight, or it's a serious moment. I think he does great. And one of my pros, I mentioned it earlier, is kind of what they do with his character. Again, I wish they had explained the backstory of a little bit more, maybe given some flashbacks a little bit more. But his character does shine in this movie. Wolverine shines in this movie. Maybe more than you thought it would. Someone in the Discord asked before the movie, who do you think will shine more, Deadpool or Wolverine? They both shine. I might say Wolverine. And,
I say clearly Wolverine.
Yeah, and depending on how you're talking about it, Wolverine gets his flowers in this movie, and it's pretty cool to see, especially because it's Hugh, you know? Go ahead.
Another pro about Hugh Jackman, specifically his portrayal of Wolverine in this movie. I was concerned, especially from the first teaser trailer, the Super Bowl teaser, that even though this movie was called Deadpool and Wolverine, that was like a marketing thing, because Wolverine's barely in the first teaser. I was very concerned that he wasn't going to be in this movie nearly as much as Deadpool. Wrong. He's in this movie plenty. He's in this movie a ton. It is Deadpool and Wolverine. That's right. And I was happy with they gave him a lot of screen time. They give him a lot of times to shine. They have good moments. And yeah, so another pro I have is I think that they use the cameos very well.
Yeah, that's my other pro. I had 3. Cameos are solid. Don't go into it thinking, like Multiverse of Madness, people were thinking the world of everything. This is much closer to those expectations than Multiverse of Madness was. It's still not at that. It's not
Secret Wars.
It's not Secret Wars. But you do get plenty.
Yeah.
And they're good.
Yes. And there's interesting because there are cameos, and then there are also
characters.
Not cameos. Like, there's a big difference between even Blade in the after credit scene of Eternals. That's like barely a cameo.
Right.
Versus Mr. Fantastic in Multiverse of Madness, who's in it, you could consider it a cameo, but he's in the story.
Yeah.
And then Toby and Andrew in No Way Home, those aren't cameos, those are full-blown characters. Yeah. Deadpool and Wolverine has all 3 of those.
And
they have people that show up for 1 second, they have people that show up that are in the movie because they're they're still kind of cameos, and then you have full-on characters.
Yeah.
And they all,
depending on how you count the last 2, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's like 4 or 5 that are like
that are closer to Mr. Fantastic or Tobey Maguire than they are to
that are not
Blade in after credits.
And you get plenty
Harry
of
Styles.
Right, you get plenty of the Harry Styles ones, but then like there's like a handful of like characters that aren't just like saying one line, that are in it for a minute, which is very cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's some cool payoffs. There's some cool little moments that you get with those characters. So
I mean, it's a Deadpool movie, so my pros are the fights are amazing and you get plenty of them.
Yes.
The cameos are insane.
Yes.
And the comedy hits. If those 3 things are checked off, I think it's a good Deadpool movie.
Yes, but it's still a mess.
Sure.
What do you give?
Which is why it's not a 9 or a 10. It's not Across the Spider-Verse.
What do you give Avengers Endgame out of 10?
Probably about the same.
Okay. I would be mad at you if you liked... Spoiler alert for our Versus segment. I'd be mad at you if you liked Deadpool and Wolverine better than Endgame. Do
you want to go to that segment?
That's what we have next.
Let's do it.
But let's just start with that one.
Okay.
So this is the Versus segment we did on our last episode of the podcast, where will Deadpool and Wolverine be better than these movies? We're going to decide if Deadpool and Wolverine was better than these movies. We're just going to go out of order here. We're going to start with Avengers Endgame.
Sure.
Avengers Endgame, do you think that Deadpool and Wolverine was better than Avengers Endgame?
No, I'm going to tie them.
You're going to tie them. I think Avengers Endgame is clearly better. And I am lower on Avengers Endgame than everybody else. I think Endgame is a mess, but the moments in Endgame are so much higher than the moments in this movie for me.
I think Deadpool and Wolverine is more entertaining throughout the entirety of the film.
That I will absolutely give you. But the highs don't nearly reach the highs.
Sure.
And I think Endgame's less of a mess.
I think in terms of mess, they are Sure, I think Endgame's a little bit. I think Deadpool and Wolverine is a little bit more of a mess, but they're close in terms of that. And Endgame, yes, has higher moments, but Deadpool and Wolverine, the 2 hours of Endgame that are a mess and kind of all over the place, are less entertaining than the parts of the 2 hours of Deadpool. Which is why they're tied.
Even with little things like That's America's Ass and like the Hail Hydra moment and like all that, because that happens in the first 2 hours. Yeah. And with Tony and his father's conversation.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's why I'm saying they're tied. I think they're close.
I think yeah. Again, I'm very critical of that movie. I am. I'm one of the most critical people of Endgame in the world, but
Endgame clearly has higher moments. And again, this is after seeing Deadpool and Wolverine once.
We need to see it again.
I will be able to way better express my thoughts after a second or third viewing.
But I do feel like overall our opinions of Deadpool and Wolverine are probably going to stick roughly around where they are.
Yeah, it's not going to change drastically.
Infinity War walking out, I knew that was one of the best MCU movies ever. Endgame walking out, I knew that delivered on that event it should have been. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. No Way Home walking out, I was like, oh, that might be the best MCU movie. Let's just start. I mean, we know Deadpool and Wolverine was better than Iron Man 3.
Correct.
Yes.
Next.
Deadpool and Wolverine, was it better than Deadpool 1?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this all day.
I think clearly no. I think the first one is clearly better. But the epicness, did it do it for you?
I don't know. I would like to say they're tied for now. I want to watch it again to be able to say. I think Deadpool has some pros that Deadpool and Wolverine does not have. And I think Deadpool and Wolverine has some pros that Deadpool does not have.
Yes.
So it's just how do I balance those and judge them. So for now, I'm gonna say they're tied.
It is almost like comparing Avengers Infinity War to Captain America Winter Soldier. The stakes for one of them and the scale for one of them is so clearly bigger, which creates for some more fun moments, more interesting moments, etc., etc. But Deadpool is such a tight, contained movie. It's so tight. It's so like for me,
Deadpool is tighter. Deadpool
1 is clearly better for me, but I do understand why you're conflicted about it.
Yeah.
Is Deadpool and Wolverine better than Thor Ragnarok?
3, 2, 1. Yes.
No, I think Thor Ragnarok is clearly better.
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Thor Ragnarok does not have the story problems that this movie has, and even though you drag on it, that Thor Ragnarok does not have good emotional beats and they turn every emotional beat into a joke. The emotional beat that they don't turn into a joke in Thor Ragnarok, the moment at the end with Loki where he says, "You're not even here," he throws the thing at him and he catches it. That emotional beat, I think, is better than any of the emotional beats in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Sure.
And
there's a lot of Ragnarok there that you didn't mention.
I think it's funnier more consistently.
I think Ragnarok. Okay, we're gonna talk about that.
I think I got bigger laughs from Deadpool and Wolverine, but I think Ragnarok is funnier throughout.
Yeah, no.
We know the answer to this one. Is Deadpool and Wolverine better than Guardians of the Galaxy?
3, 2, 1. No.
Thank you.
No.
I don't think it's close.
It could potentially. We'll talk about that later. No. I think Guardians.
Really?
No, it's something specific. I'll talk about it later.
Just because the emotion, everything's tight in Guardians.
Guardians
is
a
perfect story. It's the emotional beat at the end with Groot is phenomenal. That you fall in love with this family and it's hilarious all the way through.
Yep.
We already know the answer for this one. Was Deadpool and Wolverine better than Spider-Man: No Way Home? Absolutely freaking not.
No,
it was not.
And people who are lower on No Way Home now,
you're wrong.
Sorry, you're wrong.
You're wrong. It's maybe the best MCU movie. It's
again
incredible.
Not hating on Deadpool and Wolverine.
No,
just it's not as good as No Way Home. Sorry.
No Way Home is it's unbelievable how good No Way Home is. You ready? Is Deadpool and Wolverine better than The Batman?
Frick. I've only seen The Batman once. I've only seen Deadpool and Wolverine once. This is very difficult for me.
Okay.
I could easily change my mind. I'm going to watch both of them again.
Yeah. I know my answer.
My gut says yes.
Your gut says yes, Deadpool and Wolverine is better than The Batman.
That's what my gut is saying.
I disagree with you. I think The Batman is a much better movie than Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah. Probably. I mean, I think, again, it's so hard to compare. There are things in Deadpool and Wolverine that are better than The Batman, and there's things that are in The Batman that are better than Deadpool and Wolverine.
Overall, like, at some point, don't we have to consider that, like, like the Batman isn't a mess.
Yeah, but you say it's boring for a bit.
It is.
It's boring.
It is. I don't think The Batman's a perfect movie. I think it's far from the best comic book movie ever. I think people that say that are ridiculous.
I think both of these are very good movies. Very, very good movies. I like both of them.
I think they're both good movies.
But like Deadpool and Wolverine, yes, it's not doing what the Batman is doing. There are things that the Batman are doing that are better. But like Deadpool and Wolverine wasn't trying to do that.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
But it was.
So it's like, how are you gonna like?
But wasn't it trying to not be a mess?
Sure.
Like Deadpool 2, I do not like Deadpool 2. Deadpool 2 is not a mess. I can't wait to get into spoilers so that I don't have to just keep saying a mess. I feel like I'm getting so redundant. But Deadpool 1 is obviously not a mess. It's one of the tightest freaking stories in comic book movie history. And then the second one, with its failings, is not a mess. It's a clear, tight story. They were not trying to make this movie a mess. The Batman is not a mess. The Batman goes nowhere and leads to nothing and everything like that. But the Batman is not a mess. It's a clear story all the way through. You just can't say that for Deadpool Wolverine.
Yeah, I'm going to say they're tied.
Okay. Is Deadpool Wolverine better than Avengers Infinity War?
No. Next. Okay, sorry, no disrespect to Deadpool and Wolverine, but no.
Is Deadpool and Wolverine better than Logan?
Frick. 3, 2, 1, no.
I don't think so either.
But I like Logan better than the Batman, so it's easier for me.
That's fine.
You know what I mean?
That's fine. I don't like Logan. I like Logan slightly better than the Batman as well. Yeah, it's not better than Logan. Logan's a good movie. I'm lower on Logan than everybody else, but I'm not this low on Logan.
It all goes back to like what you want from a movie. There are plenty of people that are going to like Deadpool and Wolverine better than everything on that list.
Correct. Absolutely correct. I completely agree. And there are going to be many people that like Deadpool and Wolverine better than Deadpool, which is crazy to me, but that's okay.
Yeah. Okay, are you done with your list?
I am.
Okay, question for you.
Tell me.
Is Deadpool and Wolverine the funniest MCU movie?
No.
What's funnier than it?
You're going to be upset.
It's not Ragnarok.
Ragnarok is funnier than Deadpool and Wolverine.
Deadpool and Wolverine is clearly funnier than Ragnarok. Next.
Guardians of the Galaxy is funnier than Deadpool and Wolverine.
I think it's close, but
I think No Way Home is funnier than Deadpool and Wolverine.
I don't know about that one.
I think No Way Home's freaking hilarious.
It's funny, but like... Okay, keep going.
I think Homecoming's probably better than Deadpool and Wolverine.
No.
Again, Deadpool and Wolverine, the peak laugh I got from there's two jokes in this movie that like absolutely fried me. Like it's the hardest I've laughed at a theater this year, maybe including last year, right? But like Bottoms is a funnier movie than Deadpool and Wolverine because I'm laughing more consistently throughout, even though the belly laughs came from Deadpool and Wolverine. For example, Captain Marvel has maybe the hardest I've laughed at any joke ever in the MCU, but Captain Marvel is one of the least funny MCU movies ever. But just because the Venus flytrap joke gets me every single time, doesn't mean that movie is funnier. That's how I feel about Deadpool and Wolverine. There's like 8 really, really good jokes. And of those 8, there's 2 that just got me so good, that are so funny. But, like, the consistency of Homecoming, the consistency of Ragnarok, the consistency of Guardians 1, the consistency of Guardians 3, the consistency of No Way Home. Like, all those movies are funny throughout that I'm going to give those movies the edge. Avengers 1 is funnier than this movie. Infinity War is funnier than this movie. Infinity War is hilarious.
Those are all funny movies. I don't know if I would put any of them above Deadpool and Wolverine, just in terms of funniness.
But this is something that, like, this is going to explain a lot between our divide, that you gave it an 8.5 and I gave it a 7, is this movie is a comedy, and I don't find it as funny as these movies that I'm naming that are comedies second. And this movie is probably a comedy first.
Is it funnier than Ant-Man?
Yes. Even though Ant-Man's hilarious.
I think I might put Ant-Man above it.
Oh, okay, so it's clearly not the funniest MCU movie to you. Do you think
I think
Avengers
it's in the
1
running.
is funnier than this movie? Avengers 1 is hilarious.
So tough. I mean, I don't know. I in the running for me would be Avengers, would be potentially Infinity War, would be Ant-Man, would be Guardians. And I don't think there's a lot that is necessarily Clearly.
You think Deadpool and Wolverine is clearly funnier than No Way Home?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, no way.
I think so.
Oh, no way. I think No Way Home's in the running for funniest MCU movie. I think it's top 3, top 2 maybe.
Is Deadpool and Wolverine better than The Avengers, the first one?
As a movie? Is it better?
Is it better?
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
Not even close.
Yeah, The Avengers is better.
The Avengers is better than most movies on our Versus list.
Yeah, no, The Avengers is...
Avengers is better than Logan. It's better than Endgame. I don't think it's better than Infinity War, but I don't have a problem that you think it is. The Avengers is better than The Batman. The Avengers is, I'd say, as good as No Way Home. I may take No Way Home personally, but I think they're as good. I think The Avengers is clearly better than Guardians 1. I think The Avengers is better than Thor Ragnarok. I think Deadpool is better than The Avengers. And then I think Iron Man 3, obviously Avengers 1 is better. So almost every movie on that list.
Yeah, I think The Avengers is better than
everything
on that list.
Obviously, it's your favorite movie.
Followed by.
Well, I was about to say, is The Greatest Showman better than everything on this list?
Better? No. My favorite? Yes.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. No. All right. So last thing before we get into spoilers,
yes.
we did a weekly question that was Deadpool and Wolverine related,
yes.
And we never read the answers.
Sorry.
So we're gonna do that right now, real quick.
We are.
And then what should be think of a Deadpool and Wolverine related question that we can do next week.
Yeah, I've got one.
Okay. So last week,
yes,
we asked what is a Deadpool and Wolverine cameo that you would choose if you could.
Yes.
Now remember what we did the week prior?
Yes.
Do you remember what it was?
Yes.
What?
Wasn't it superpowers to give out each other?
Yes.
Yes.
And you remember what we were counting?
Yes. How many had to do with you being a virgin and how many had to do with me having a long neck?
Yeah, so it's crazy that this is a cameo thing, and still there were a lot about me being a virgin. I don't know how they are still swinging that, but
see, that reminds me. This is something I don't know if you know about yourself, but you've never had sex.
I do know that.
So it's something that a lot of people want to talk about.
Yeah,
is that
sure.
you have never had sex? Because I don't know if you know this, but you're a virgin.
Thank you.
Just making sure you know.
I'd have a Finn McMissile cameo so Alex can love the movie. Then around an hour later, Henry Cavill, Lego Batman, and Zach saying the N-word. They all appear, so it'll be the worst movie ever for Hack.
That's hilarious.
Zach doesn't say the N-word, guys. Come on. Give me Andrew as a dad of 3 with a beautiful wife because it will only ever happen in a movie.
Brutal.
Thanos would be cool. He could use the Reality Stone to give Andrew a girlfriend.
Brutal. They're massacring you.
Massacring. I really want to see different variants of Wolverine, like maybe a short one that Deadpool doesn't like the height of. I'd also like to see James Marsden as Cyclops. Obviously, we're not going to react to any of these.
Yeah, we can't because we know
so
if
I'm going
they're
to
in it or
mostly
not.
read the funny ones.
The funny ones.
But if there's an actual
but
one.
take serious ones. Talk about serious ones.
Okay. If Morbius doesn't show up and specifically say it's Morbin time, I don't want it. I like that one. Jenna Ortega and Andrew simply because I want to see Andrew fumble his celeb crush like he does with every other woman.
I don't like this weird bit that you're this all-time bag fumbler with ladies.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's true. I gotta see Wesley Snipes' Blade in Deadpool and Wolverine. I would want to see Spider-Man 2099 because of the canon. Edward Norton's Hulk, and because I want him to cameo in something since he didn't in the Flash movie. Oh, so Edward Norton's Hulk, and then because he didn't cameo in anything else, he wants to see Grant Gustin.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Anyone from any other company showing up would be cool, like someone from DC.
Yes.
Or the Boys.
Yes.
Black Noir, The Peak, The Deep. I would like current Andrew to appear as well as pre-haircut Andrew so that they could fight to determine who is truly the superior human being. I would hope current Andrew would win. I'd like to see Alex the Horsepool. And they should add me so I can be in the same room as Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds. P.T. Barnum, The Greatest Showman, was also formerly Fox after all. They could make a recreation of the Fox acquisition negotiations using a parody of The Other Side. Maybe it would be too much, or maybe it would be the greatest show on earth.
That's so funny.
That's pretty great. I'd love to see Andrew cameo in Deadpool and Wolverine so that Wolverine could stab him in the balls too and he'd remain a virgin forever. Brutal. A version of Man of Steel that isn't absolute cheeks. Toby Spider-Man, OG The Thing, Sarah.
Who?
Sarah as Invisible Woman, since we can't see her.
Oh, that's good. You know what? Sarah might have been in it as Invisible Woman. We wouldn't know.
Hugh Jackman as Jean Valjean. Channing Tatum as Gambit. Koba, because he should be in every movie.
A lot of people yelled at me that I forgot to include that in my draft.
Yeah, Koba would be great.
Yeah.
Agent Coulson and Jimmy Woo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot.
Godzilla. Mickey Mouse kissing Deadpool, because Disney owns him now, I guess.
Yeah.
Malcolm B. Jordan as both Killmonger and Human Torch in the same scene.
Can you imagine?
Satoru Gojo. Yes.
Can't touch me like Gojo.
Anybody that didn't do they didn't do justice to a different universe, Adam Warlock or MODOK.
Oh, that's good. I like that. Like the guys that they fumbled.
Yeah. Anyone that they've like a Taskmaster.
Nice. I like that.
Thank you for all your answers. What's the question for next week?
The question for next week is, now that you've seen Deadpool and Wolverine, what is something that you would have changed?
Okay. Nice. All right. Time for spoilers, everyone. Click away.
This is a spoiler alert. This is your spoiler warning. The first thing we're going to talk about is a huge spoiler that will ruin the movie for you if you haven't seen it yet. So, without further ado, we're going to go into spoilers for Deadpool and Wolverine. We're not in it.
We are not in it.
There's no joke about us.
No Avengers followed by The Greatest Showman.
Avengers followed by The Greatest Showman. There's no Spider-Man hoodie guy.
I mean, I was really expecting to be in there. You know, we've made such a wave.
You're right.
It's unbelievable.
I couldn't believe they didn't have just two skinny little nerds in the corner talking shit about Martin Scorsese.
With microphones. They would have killed us.
100%. But I would have liked to have been killed.
Oh, yeah, I'd be down.
Absolutely.
What do you want to talk about first? You want to just talk about the cameos?
I want you to lead this. I want you to know.
I'm dying over here.
Or do you want to fight? You're dying because you're sick?
Yeah.
Do you want to fight about what we... yeah, let's talk about the fights.
Which one did you say was clearly better?
The opening sequence fight is clearly the best fight in the movie.
Sure, I think it's the best.
And everything else, I don't think pales. Like, in comparison. The one shot is interesting that it's a one shot. You cannot see anything that's going on. And at one point... The camera is literally moving, and then it stops, and you can't see any of the action.
The one shot's amazing. I have no complaints.
It stops on the guy whose butt is up, and then they come into frame like a minute later, which they did that so that they could cut. But like, that pissed me off.
No, the one shot's amazing. No complaints. You're in your picky mode.
At one point, they cut off a character's arms in the one shot. You don't see them cut off the character's arms in the one shot. The only reason you know they cut off the character's arms is because you see his arms growing back.
Okay.
That's an example of this movie not going full gore, full Deadpool Wolverine, like that it could have, in my opinion. It's just rated R so that they could say the F word a couple of times and show blood, in my opinion. I feel very strongly that that is the case.
I think, obviously, the opening fight. The opening fight in Deadpool and Wolverine is one of the funniest and best opening scenes, fight scenes of any superhero movie ever.
It is good.
The fact that they opened the movie with, how are we going to, do this movie without desecrating Logan? Answer is, we're not.
And then cutting to the X.
And then he digs up his body, and then there's a, 10 to 15 minute fight scene with his skeleton. Should put this as an 8 out of 10 or above just for that scene. It's so funny, and the choreography of it the entire time is great. And him doing every single time it cut back to him doing the Backstreet Boys dance, I laughed. Every single time.
Yeah. It
was awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is my favorite fight scene in the thing. But the fight at Cassandra Nova's with all the cameos was great. The first fight with him and Wolverine
was the second best fight in my opinion.
The cameo one.
Fight.
The first fight with Deadpool and Wolverine was fine.
It's
fine. The car fight with them was pretty good. I thought it was great.
Yes, but then they leave.
Well, they got to leave at some point. The movie's got to go on. Then the one shot is amazing. All of those are good to great. And then you get the one at the start, which is insane.
The one at the start is really good. You want to talk about the comedy here? What was the hardest you laughed? What was the best joke in the movie for you?
Well, tell the one you like, because I like it too.
We have long hair, Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, perfect Deadpool, whatever you want to call him, doesn't have a healing factor. And Deadpool addresses the fourth wall, and Ryan Reynolds, hot Deadpool, turns and he goes, "Oh, I too can lightly tap the fourth wall." And then he turns to the camera and he goes, "The proposal."
Really funny.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
That's hysterical. The other one that got me good was, again, this is for nerds. This was for me. So I don't think this is going to kill people the way that it killed me. Was Abeloth is in this one? You mean the guy from season 1, episode 5 of Loki? Like,
that was really good. Yeah.
That was so good. Because that's exactly how all of us reacted. We're like, oh, Abeloth from season 1, episode 5 of Loki. But like to just point out, like, oh, we haven't heard about this character in literal years. Like, yeah, I thought that was really funny.
Yeah. The end credit scene was kind of funny because it wasn't expected, and just seeing him do that.
Yes.
The montage of them making the suit for him and him just constantly getting slapped on the butt, and then him coming out and being like, "Number one, your tailor's a predator."
Yes.
I thought that was hilarious.
Yes.
And then what was the other one? Oh, them at the end. Well, first off, I called it. The ending where Wolverine wants to sacrifice himself. Deadpool wants to sacrifice himself. And he locks Wolverine out. I lean over to Alex and I say, they're both going to hold hands and use power of friendship, and they're both going to survive. When his shirt ripped off, I thought that was hilarious.
Yes.
Like, that is such a... They've played this whole movie. This is the ending. And then one of them just goes, what if your shirt rips off? And then they put it in the movie. I thought it was so funny. The awkwardness between Peter and the TVA agent flirting was also really funny right there at the end.
Yeah, that one didn't get me.
Oh, I thought that was hilarious.
I thought the Deadpool's liking Peter was cute.
Yeah.
I don't like that Peter has replaced Dopinder. I like Dopinder so much more than Peter.
Yeah, I wish Dopinder was in it a little bit more.
He's not in it like at all.
Yeah.
Okay, now that we're in spoilers, we can talk about like my real complaints. Like, I don't get why the fuck he gives a fuck about these people at all. Like, I don't care why he's so like, I will not kill any of these people. The only one that makes sense to me is Vanessa. If you remember in Deadpool 2, Deadpool doesn't even rock with Shatterstar. He's like, I don't like this guy. I don't know why he's even in the movie. The Asian guy with the red hair.
Yeah, no, I know.
Like, he's like bullying him in that whole movie. He's like, this guy's an asshole. Like, I don't even know why he would have gone back and saved him or anything. Like, yeah, I don't rock with him. Like, I just don't. That doesn't, like, and all these people, he's like, oh, it's been years since I've seen you guys. And then in the party scene is so awkward. Like, he's like, the guy left his AirPods in my taxi. Like, and it's like, oh, great. Like, and all the times they're talking, it's like so awkward and doesn't feel like justified. And like, only Peter and Vanessa, I understand why he likes those people. Like, I don't understand why he likes any of these other people.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think part of, maybe I'm tripping, part of like Deadpool and Deadpool 2 is like him learning to at least somewhat be more of a hero. No?
Yeah.
And like he learned that from Colossus, and he learned that from those people. That's like part of Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
And again, there is somewhat of a time jump here.
But he says, I haven't seen you guys in years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know. Him not caring doesn't really bother me. What really bothers me is like the whole thing for Deadpool in this movie was like him mattering. Like the TVA agent Paradox was like, you'll finally have a chance to matter. And then when Cassandra was in his head, she was talking through Vanessa being like, you've never mattered, blah, 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 blah. So why does that, like, I understand like he wants to be like the joke of him being an Avenger and like finally mattering, but like, why is that a thing to him so much now? And also, why does he need to prove that he matters to get Vanessa back? Like, I did not like that him, again, spoiler alert for Deadpool and Wolverine, I don't like that him and Vanessa aren't together.
Me too.
One of the best parts of the first two movies is like, that was the one thing that was constant, was their relationship being amazing.
And that's why I don't like Deadpool 2, because he's so annoying because he lost Vanessa. Like, I think these movies are worse without Vanessa. Which is weird because he's such a man whore in the comics that, like, it shouldn't be that way. He shouldn't be tied to a girlfriend. But it's so much better. If this movie was just that he was going to lose Vanessa, I think it would have been better. Mm-hmm. If they didn't make them, like, weirdly break up off screen.
That was not needed. Like, I understand. And the other thing.
The flashback doesn't make sense.
Yeah. They don't explain it enough. Like, this is, like, that is his number one relationship. That's, like, the constant in 1 and 2. And it was one of my favorite things about 1 and 2.
Yeah.
is just how funny they work together, how well they worked, and like all this other craziness happening. He's got Vanessa, and like the one line she had was like, "Oh well, this boyfriend doesn't get me shot." It's like,
fuck you.
Yeah, like he went back in time to stop that, number one, and then like you knew who you were dating. Like that's not a Vanessa thing that she would say.
You're right.
I don't think. And like to break up that couple,
yes,
and to do it off screen, and then your flashback not explain it well enough, and that to be like one of his main motivators in the movie is trying to get her back, and then at the end, like she kind of puts his hand on, like
it's not.
I hated all of that.
I hated it all.
I really did.
If he's just trying to save her, this movie, it first of all, it burns 20 minutes of just stuff that doesn't make sense. That's a mess.
Yeah.
If you just make it about Vanessa, and then we buy it so much more because we've spent 2 movies with them.
Yeah,
and,
if they're together,
and you've seen him how depressed he is without her.
Yeah, like going from Deadpool 2 to Deadpool 3, where they're broken up, and like he's trying to save these people in this Polaroid, but then you also have this other little like, this is why it's kind of a mess. You also have this added layer of like they're not together, so he's trying to save them, but also prove that she should get back together with him. It's like, I agree. It would be so much better if like Paradox is like, we're pruning your timeline, basically.
Yeah. You're the only one that gets to leave. And he's like, can I bring Vanessa? And they're like, no.
And he's like, F you.
Yes. So much better. Oh, do the opening scene with the birthday and have none of those people show up. And it's just Vanessa. And he's like, this is how special it is and whatever.
Yeah. Again,
Dopinder should be in the fucking movie more. He should have been in the fucking void driving them through Taxi.
That'd be really funny.
Like, it's just, he's so good. Use him. He's so good. He's so funny. Like, it's so... And he's so good. This guy's a star now. He's Pav.
Yeah.
From Spider-Verse.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that.
He's a star now. Like, put him in this movie. Yeah, that frustrated me that Peter got that. I thought they were getting rid of the Vanessa relationship because they were going to do Lady Deadpool. But they don't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, they do it, but they don't have a relationship or anything. I thought for sure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they don't at all.
No. So now we can talk about the characters that...
We've gone so long we have to talk about the cameos.
Sure, we can talk about the cameos real quick.
Yeah.
The cameos are great. So I called it, first of all. The cameo in Deadpool and Wolverine, I called it.
I mean, to the T.
Spoiler alert.
I mean, that they were going to act like he's Captain America, and then
it's Johnny Storm. Like, and there's literally a scene where, like, Deadpool thinks he's Captain America. He's like, oh, he's about to say it. And he expects him to say Avengers Assemble, and then he says Flame On. We also called it.
You called that to a T.
Yeah, but in the theater, we leaned over to each other and we're like, Flame On.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And again, that's another character that's not just a cameo. Like, he's in it for like a solid amount of time.
Which surprised me. When Pyro takes his fire, I thought when he fell down, I thought he broke his neck.
Yeah, like, and then he's still alive?
Yeah, that surprised me.
He's not alive.
Yeah.
He totally died.
Yeah, which, frankly, you should have killed him there, because the ripping of the skin bit... I didn't find that funny.
It was all right, but it led to the end credit scene was kind of funny. Watching Chris Evans say all those lines was kind of funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then you get the little ones.
Just like, keep going. Like in the end credit scene, that was very funny.
You get the little ones like Toad and Pyro and and Sabretooth.
Azazel is a cameo in this movie. You know what I'm saying? Nightcrawler's dad, the red one. He's a cameo.
Yep.
Another cameo. Can we please talk about my favorite sequence in the movie?
Sure.
I wish it was the whole movie. Was the Deadpool looking for various Wolverines in the multiverse was incredible.
Yeah.
Every single one of those. How interesting that it was Hugh Jackman as Patch.
Yeah.
That was interesting. That kind of shocked a lot of us.
A little, would have liked it to be Daniel Radcliffe or whoever.
But that's fine.
The short joke was great.
The short joke is phenomenal. There's
hilarious.
Good jokes in it. You see Hulk.
Yeah, so I want to talk about that.
That's a cameo.
Did that frustrate you?
Of course it did.
Because, like, I think they knew that we wanted a Wolverine Hulk fight, and then just to show, like, hey, the fight's happening, we're not going to watch it. A little frustrating.
And it was the brown suit. It was the yellow and brown.
But it's Mark
suit.
Ruffalo's Hulk.
Really?
I could tell by the arm, it definitely didn't look like Norton's Hulk.
I thought it was a different shade of green.
Maybe it looked like Norton.
That forest was decimated. They were having a fucking brawl.
I know, and now that makes me think that we're never gonna see it.
I know, because they acknowledge it.
Yeah,
but they did this. That's like one of the most famous comic covers ever. Like, they did it all. Like, I was like, oh, this is amazing. Because you've had Hugh Jackman for 20 years, and you never did any of this. And you got to show us all of it. That was awesome. And what do you think about Henry Cavill?
Great.
You had no idea it was Henry Cavill.
It took me a second.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, and it wasn't until the end of the end of the scene where I was like, oh, is that Cavill?
Yeah. Well, it was. We were in like the front left.
Yeah.
So everybody's faces were kind of like deformed.
Yeah.
So like it definitely took me a second as well, but I was like, wow, they freaking did Cavill. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
That was good. I liked that.
So moving on to the big ones. Obviously, there's X-23. They revealed that.
Can I say one quick thing about X-23? I was upset they didn't do the yellow suit. I was upset that it was the Logan one. But when they go into that fight and she puts on the glasses, I was like, never mind.
Yeah, it's so cute.
You totally sold me. That was coming off of that 1 hour of that movie where they were really losing me, where I was like, this movie's really messy, like, and like the cameos, like they just didn't do it for me and everything, and I was like, I think I'm out. Like, I don't think I like this movie. And she puts on the glasses, and that saved it. And then I thought that fight scene was great. I thought that was the second best fight scene in the movie.
So, again, spoiler alert.
Well, this is all spoilers.
Yeah, for the TikToks. If I edit it up, if we ever say something annoying, it's because like I'm having to cut all of these for TikToks.
Yeah.
So spoiler alert for Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yes.
The cameos in the Void. So here we go. You get the Elektra. You get the Blade.
Jennifer Garner Elektra.
Yeah. You get
Wesley Snipes Blade out of retirement.
And then you get Channing Tatum
Gambit.
Him talking was hilarious.
Yes.
Obviously. Deadpool makes some jokes about it.
Yes.
But like even the lines where like I was kind of supposed to be understanding what he was saying. No idea.
No
like
idea.
he nails it. And they do his powers well. He's got the staff. He's throwing the cards in the fight scene. That fight scene was a little violent. Again, they could have shown that, to your point, they could have shown her slicing Juggernaut's head off, and they didn't.
They didn't. That's my point.
Yeah. But that fight scene is great. They really let them shine for a moment, and it was a nice little. And they even say in the movie like we need our ending or our send off or whatever, and they kind of get it.
I thought the joke, that was another great joke, was we lost this person, we lost Daredevil. Oh, Daredevil, and Jennifer Garner goes, no problem. Because they were married at the time and are now divorced.
Oh, nice. And what about the divorce joke for Hugh Jackman? Was crazy.
Yes.
That was crazy. I did like a double take. I was like, was that a reference to
real life?
The real one?
Yeah, that was funny.
So yeah, that's probably my second favorite fight scene. It's close with the car fight. The use of the greatest show in Deadpool and Wolverine. Obviously a little disappointing. They could have done more. I think releasing the soundtrack beforehand got people's expectations up.
Yes, I agree completely with this.
It would have been, just hearing it at all would have been absolutely amazing. And now hearing it was kind of like, oh,
that's all we got.
Yeah.
I totally, when he was going universe to universe looking for Wolverines, I like knew for a fact that one of them he was just going to be singing. Oh. Came to the wrong universe for this one. And it's just Hugh Jackman on stage. This is the greatest show. Like, that would have been hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the whole thing bothered me a little bit. Channing Tatum was pretty funny.
And I'm glad that he got to do it. He wanted to do Gambit for so long. The costume kind of looked awful, but it was kind of on purpose.
Yeah. The ending I kind of liked. So in Deadpool and Wolverine, the reason that I say Wolverine kind of saved it a little bit for me is because we're talking about the messiness of it and them not. Okay, so the characters that you need the backstory for, right?
Yes.
Deadpool.
Yes.
We already talked about that.
Yes.
With the Vanessa thing and
doesn't
all that.
work.
It just wasn't really working for me. And then Cassandra, they kind of tell you like.
Well, I'm fine with Cassandra because that is her character in the comics. Mm-hmm. She's just like irrationally evil. Yeah. Like, if you're going to use that character, that's what you use her for. You don't give her a backstory. You don't, yes, the strangling, she does try to strangle Charles in the womb. That's like accurate or whatever. But like, you just know that she's generally evil. But like, the reasons she does what she does in this movie is unearned. That's my issue with it.
You didn't like the pruning all time so she could be in control of the Void? I thought that was fine.
That was fine. I mean, her letting them go. That does not seem like something she would do.
Yes and no. I was afraid that there were two reasons she did it. Like, Wolverine spared her or whatever, which was a good moment for him, kind of. And I was afraid, like, that was going to be cliche. Oh, you spared me, I'll spare you. But there was one other thing that caused her to do that, and I can't remember what it was. I think it was either the guy shooting her or something that, like, made her... Because I think she let them go so she also, like, followed them to Paradox or something. There was some other reason, I can't remember what it was, that wasn't just like, oh, you spared me, so I'll have mercy. There was some other reason that made it a little more okay for me.
But the Pyro stuff is later. She lets them go, and then she's talking to Pyro, and Pyro says it's about Paradox. And then she goes, oh, well, I'll just go where they went.
Yeah, no, I can't remember what it was, but there was something. So, Deadpool, Wolverine, and then the villains. The villains was a little too much, again, if you can combine them into one or whatever, like you were kind of saying.
Like, I didn't give a crap about Paradox at all.
Yeah, I think he did a good job, and...
Like, his motives, don't care. Like, his motive is literally laziness. He doesn't feel like doing his job. That doesn't work for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was a little too much. So we already talked about Deadpool's backstory. The Wolverine backstory. So basically, this is like the worst Wolverine ever. He let his entire universe down. Everyone hates him. I like that. That's fine. That's good. I'd like to know what the frick he did.
They do explain it a little bit.
Kind of.
That's not enough.
Not enough. Like,
that's not enough. Him being out at the bar and humans just massacre the X-Men?
Yeah.
That's not enough.
No, it's not. And I couldn't remember. I couldn't tell if they were saying, like, during the children thing.
Yeah.
Like, the children were calling out for him, like in Logan, and he left them to die.
Yeah.
That would be pretty bad.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
But, like, it was also in the same explanation. Again, we need to watch it again. It was also in the same explanation of him talking about him being at the bar and then massacring the X-Men. And, like, that was the main thing he was talking about. That's not enough. Like, he says, he's like, oh, I've done the worst thing ever. It's like, then he goes all Anakin and he says, oh, I just started killing.
Yes. So did he kill, like, a ton of humans because of that?
I think.
But, like, even then, like, it feels like there will be a worse Wolverine.
Yeah. I just, during the Cassandra scene where she was doing that for him, this is why I say, like, again, it's not perfect because I wanted to see it. I wanted to see a flashback. I wanted it explained a little bit more, and maybe we just missed it. But, like, to have that be such an integral part of the story that this is the worst Wolverine, he did something so terrible, and then you kind of touch on it.
Yeah.
Don't really explain it. And the only explanation that was, like, super clear was I was at a bar, then they killed X-Men, and then I killed humans.
Yeah. That's not enough for me. I'm with you.
It's not enough. But,
I'm with you.
But they do explain that he's the worst Wolverine.
Yes.
They do explain why he's trying to do what he's doing. So you get that a little bit. You get his motivation. Maybe the backstory isn't explained enough, but you get it a little bit. You get the scene with him in X-23 where she says, you know, you were never the right guy.
Until you were.
That's good. And then you get the Cassandra scene where she's in his head, and it's not explained well enough, but she actually offers him, like, hey, if I can quiet the voices, and then there's that scene where it goes quiet.
Yeah, that's good.
That was really good.
Yeah.
And then he still decides, like, I'm still going to do the right thing. I'm going to come out of this, like, even though you can quiet these voices for me, I'm going to choose to not do that. I'm also going to choose to sacrifice you. And then at the end, I'm going to choose to sacrifice myself so that I can finally do something good for people. That's why, like, if it didn't have any of that, I would say I probably might bump it down to an 8 or a 7.5. But the Wolverine stuff, that stuff saves it a little bit for me. It's not perfect. I wish it was explained a little bit better. But that actually gives it some gravitas. And, like, that's why I'm saying the Wolverine character shines, because the sacrifice at the end and him choosing to finally, like, and then this is why it was good. The line from the TVA agent, I can't remember her name, where Deadpool says, hey, I kind of promised him you could go back and, like, help fix his universe.
Yes.
And she says,
nothing.
The person you are now, you wouldn't be that if that stuff didn't happen. And what you just did was a good thing. That line was good. The bad stuff in your life can lead to you becoming a better person. And, like, she's not going to fix the stuff in his past because now you're this person, and that's important. That was all good.
That was good. See, but that was one of my main pros was Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. I think they did a good job with him.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. Here's a con that we couldn't have really talked about, not in spoilers. I don't like how they handle the suit.
Disagree.
Wait. I hate that they make 4 comments about it. that Hugh he thinks it's a goofy suit and he was only wearing it to remember his fallen X-Men.
That's another good moment for him.
I don't like that. Can he wear the suit and just think it's cool because it's cool?
I mean, he's Wolverine.
Wolverine is awesome! Wolverine is awesome whether he's shirtless or in the yellow suit. And I don't like that they have to continually act like this is a goofy suit. It's awesome.
I didn't get that feeling. I thought that was a really good moment for him of being like, hey, I am... Wolverine is the kind of guy to not want to be a team player and not wear a goofy suit. And to say... And
I'm not saying it's out of character. I'm just saying you didn't have to.
Yeah, sure, but it gives him the moment of this is how I'm remembering my friends. It didn't bother me. I kind of understand what you're saying. It just didn't bother me.
But then it gives this, right? So the motivation is that the suit is really important to him because it makes him remember his friends or whatever. Why would he ever let it get as damaged as it gets? I don't mean some sword holes or whatever. I mean the sleeves get ripped off, which happens off screen, weirdly. But you know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm saying? Okay, this suit is so important to you because the only thing left to remind you of the X-Men, he specifically says that. And then in 2 scenes later, the sleeves are gone. So significant damage is done to this suit.
He was in fights. I don't know. It's not like he was just in the back, ripping it apart. He was fighting people, no?
He was fighting Deadpool. It happens in the Deadpool car fight.
Yeah.
But I just don't that doesn't.
Is he not supposed to fight Deadpool because he's trying to keep his suit clean? I don't understand the point here.
You don't understand the point?
I mean, I get it, but he could be wearing the suit in his universe where he's at a bar to remember his friends, but then he gets thrown into the void other universe where he's got to fight someone. He's gonna try do a fight scene where he's trying to keep his suit clean. I don't.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't know.
Anything else? I mean, we've talked about it for a while.
Is there anything else we need to talk about?
No.
What's your favorite part, period? Give me a high, low, and a buffalo.
Sure. My high would probably have to be the first scene.
Yeah.
That was probably the highest of the movie.
Yeah.
But my highs in general are the fights, cameos, and comedy.
Yeah.
I think they nailed all 3 of those. So good for them.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if they didn't nail one of those, it would crash and burn for me. But I think they nailed all 3 of those. So that's my high. My low is the messiness in the story and the lack of backstory with things like Vanessa and Hugh and Wolverine's character. My buffalo would be... Did anything interesting happen while we were watching it? My buffalo would be the that I called the...
You nailed the Chris Evans
The Chris
prediction.
Evans
I mean, exactly. My high is the proposal joke. Absolutely killed me. My low is the movie looks kind of shitty sometimes. The colors are off. It looks kind of bad. The direction I don't think is great. And it is a mess. It's a mess. I can't stop saying
I agree with you generally on some of that stuff. I do think you're in your mood of being more picky than you should be.
And my buffalo is I can't wait to see it again. I need to see it again to have
I
a
do want to
full
see
opinion.
it again. Yeah.
So even though you're getting this episode now, we may be doing another episode on Monday. And if we do another episode on Monday, that is a strong maybe. That's a maybe. But if we do another episode on Monday, we should have seen it again. And then I think we could really go into our thoughts after seeing it twice. Hopefully you'll be a little less sick.
Yeah.
But we have to go ahead and get this out. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been our full Deadpool Wolverine first reaction thoughts, everything like that. And I hope it's worth it to you guys because we only talk about these movies for the first time on camera with you guys. And those very painful last 2 days.
Yes.
And so we hope that you enjoyed our first reactions to each other. And I love you a lot. Good calls.
Love you too.
Let's go.